Hello, folks. This is the 816 Fix with Darian Gray. Tonight, I got a pretty interesting topic. But before I get going on that, tell you just a little bit about my day. It was absolutely boring. I sat right here in this house for the majority of the day. I didn't do very much outside of home except for run out and grab some lunch. I've been sitting and primarily doing a lot of research and computer work and quite a bit of preparation for tonight. So I'm starting a communication series. All right. I want to start this communication series primarily because I believe that communication is paramount to any relationship. Okay. Again, I talk about all positive relationships. That's any type of a relationship outside of enemies. Positive relationships absolutely require good communication. One of the biggest issues in my community when it comes to communication is lies. Right? Hence the title of the show tonight, which is Honesty is Taboo. I believe that if we can learn to be more honest with each other, then a lot of these issues that seem to take place in relationships would almost vanish. Maybe not completely, because you still got people who, regardless of how honest they might be, they could just be flat out bad people, right? Kind of incapable of treating the next person well. That's a big possibility. But if we can at least nail down the communication part, stop being so horrible about communication, I believe that things would be a whole lot better within our community. One of the biggest issues with lies is it kind of opens up the rabbit hole, right? So you get two people that are communicating, whether it's for business or for personal, doesn't matter. And when the lies start to creep in, the rabbit hole opens and we don't know how far down it can go. Sometimes situations can get rather uncivilized, even crossing the violence line, all based on poor communications. Now, the word communication itself, we could go really, really far with that, but I'm just going to stick with the two basic concepts of it, which is going to be telling the truth or telling lies. So I kind of want to get off into, it's going to sound a little weird, but I kind of want to get off into the benefits of lying. Sounds a little twisted, I know, but I want to get into the benefits of lying. So usually, now there's a whole list of reasons. First of all, there's a whole list of reasons, probably hundreds of reasons as to why people choose to lie. Right? There's going to be tons of reasons. Tonight, I wanted to speak on what I believe are going to be close to the top 5 reasons for lies. All right. That first reason that I want to bring up, which is probably the most common, is to avoid being punished. So, generally speaking, people will most definitely tell lies in order to avoid being punished. You can find this especially like in the workplace or dealing with the law, right? Now, I can talk about it in the workplace because As I said in the last stream, I'm a business owner. I run a few personal care agencies, and I've dealt with my share of liars, to say the least. I've dealt with my share of liars. And so the interesting thing about lying to avoid to be punished is that there's no real significant difference between the type of lie that they'll tell for an intentional or purposeful misdeed versus the type of lie that they'll tell for an honest mistake. It's an interesting phenomenon to me. In some cases, it could be perfectly honest. I mean, in some cases, it could be perfectly obvious that this person is, say, guilty of whatever it is they're being accused of. Perfectly obvious. There's no way around it. And instead of just being straight with the management, right? Instead of just expressing exactly what happened and admitting to that particular issue, they want to come up with a whole new story about what that situation was. Prime example. So I got a guy, and let's say his name was Willie. Willie ran a particular department in one of my companies. He ran the payroll department. And so we started noticing issues in the finances. Now, the beauty about business finances is that numbers are perfect. So that means at any given time, you should be able to go back through your records and look around to see, you know, what happened with the numbers. And some time goes on, and we go to Willie and we say, hey, listen, Willie, something ain't right with these numbers. I'm coming up short, coming up so many thousands of dollars short. I need an explanation. And Willie was really poor with accountability. Really, really poor with personal accountability. And so instead of just admitting to the fact that he had there was some kind of a problem going on, instead of just admitting to it, he starts making all of these excuses. He would give general excuses like, well, everybody makes mistakes, which is a very true statement. Everybody makes mistakes. But this isn't just based on saying everybody makes mistakes type of a situation, right? This is more based on an individual who's being lazy. So what we would do is we would have conversations. We'd make sure to let Willie know, like, look, okay, if you do it the way we trained you to do it, then everything will make sense and all of your issues will go away. So he would go back, he went back, and we go through another pay cycle, only to find out we're running into the same issue. We're coming up thousands of dollars short. And so now we're realizing that there's a need for a much more oversight. So we start really digging into the work to see what's going on. And we found the problems. Some people were being overpaid. Some people were being underpaid. The billing, some of the billing was being overbilled, and then some was being underbilled. So this means now we got to go back across tons of records, fix everything, right? And we told him exactly what to do. Here's how you fix it. We gave him the training. At least 3 times over, we gave him the training. And it wasn't enough. So we go back to him, and now because we can't get him to get things right for us. Now we got to turn to the write-up. Start doing the write-ups. 1, 2, 3 write-ups come. And then I found out later that Willie had told his co-workers, he says, man, if they come talking to me again about this stuff, I'm out. And sure enough, due to his own laziness and lack of accountability, and the need to blame everybody else for what belonged to him, he was the manager over this department. We knew that his time was short, and he knew it as well. So eventually he just went on to quit. Well, the lies that would come into place was, well, I did do it. Or because he had a couple of subordinates, he would try to blame it on them. He'd say, well, I did this, and I told Susie to do this, and I told Johnny to do that. And this is what we were left with. Just a big ton of lies. Just lies. At the end of the day, what it boiled down to was this man, Willie, just was not willing to actually do the work. And the outcome was destruction. He ends up having to quit his job. He didn't have to quit. He ends up quitting his job, or he was going to lose it regardless. And I don't know what he's up to today. I hope he's doing well. But that was his ultimate outcome, was he ends up losing his job. So now there's another type that I want to get into. So the first type was to avoid being punished. All right, people tell lies to avoid being punished. The next one that I want to get into is people tell lies to protect another person from being punished. Okay? I think the two cases are equally bad, but one seems a little bit worse to me because now you're getting into somebody else's business and you're actually risking your own livelihood or your own name for somebody else. Somebody else who more than likely wouldn't do the same thing for you. In most cases, right? Here's the way it goes. People can say how loyal they are, and people can talk all of that shit as much as they want to. Okay, but the real deal is this. Here's the real truth. If you put two people in a room and what's on the table is it's your job or his job, people gonna talk. All right, that whole loyalty bit, it goes right out the window, because at the end of the day, I really ain't trying to get myself in no trouble, and lose my job over you. That's generally the way it goes. And if they would just be honest about things in the first place, more than likely, nobody gets into any serious trouble. There may be some kind of a write-up, a reprimand, for the mistake, but that would be about it. Okay? Anyways, people tell lies to protect another person from being punished. All right? You can see this happen in the workplace. You can see it happen among friends, family. And most interestingly, you can see this happen among strangers. Among strangers. Let me give you a little example of that. Okay? When I say you can see this happen among strangers, here's what I mean. You ever hear of the girl code? Excuse me. If you've ever heard of the girl code, right? Which, of course, there's going to be a bro code as well, but I advocate for men, so I'm going to talk about the girl code. The girl code is one that is pretty damn tight, okay? I mean, tight, all right? Girls will take up, or women will take up for each other, and they'll take up for women that they don't even know. I could be out, maybe at a bar, having a conversation with one of my friends, and we could be out doing kind of what men do, right? We could be out just having a general conversation about women, and there could be 2 or 3 women sitting over here, and one of them just happens to overhear us say something about women. She doesn't even know exactly what it is we said, but she sticks her nose in anyways. So she wants to be a part of the conversation. I'm that type. I'm like that. It's like, okay, here's the scenario. So we give it to her, right? We tell her exactly what's going on. And let's just say that the example is, well, we prefer that the women that, we want to date don't wear makeup, they don't wear the fake eyelashes or the fake hair. And immediately that's going to open up a can of worms. Anytime, at least in the black community, you start talking about hair, nails, makeup, anything that's got anything to do with a black woman's appearance, can of worms, okay? Get ready for whatever's coming. So we throw that out there. And this lady who has no clue as of who it is we're talking about, right? All we did is we just kind of gave her a general statement. She immediately rolls into this tirade of, well, I feel sorry for the women that y'all date. Now, this woman don't know. She don't even know if we're dating at the time. She don't know nothing, but she's gonna say it. I feel sorry for the women that y'all date because y'all want everybody to come out of the house looking, all plain Jane, or we ain't allowed to shine. We can't look good. It's in a black woman's nature. What? Makeup? Long fake eyelashes is in a black woman's nature? So, in the name of defending people that they don't even know, they'll just cook up anything. Just make it up as they go. And that's another issue with communication within itself for a whole different video, but I'll speak on it briefly. Making it up as we go. I swear to you, I have no clue. I do not understand how some people manage to make it through even one day. And they're incapable of just being, just communicating directly. You ask somebody, hey, what do you think about the color red? And they'll say something weird like, well, the color purple is made up of red and blue, and sometimes I'll wear that to bed. I was like, oh. And sometimes I use lavender when I take a bath. I'm sorry, man, but I didn't ask you anything about the color purple or what you wear to bed or lavender for that matter. I didn't ask you about anything other than what do you think about the color red? And they're completely incapable of just answering what it is you have to say. But again, that's a whole other video. I'll stick with my current subject, which is, again, the benefits of lying. So we went through that one. People will tell lies to protect another person from being punished. Here's another one. People will tell lies in order to avoid embarrassment. All right. Now, mind you, I keep using the word people because everybody lies. Okay. I don't think there's a single person on the face of this earth who doesn't lie. Generally speaking, with this type of lie, people do not fear punishment. So it's not like the first or the top two. It's not like those. They're not worried about punishment at all. But instead, what they're protecting is their feelings. They're protecting their feelings. And this one gets really deep because a lot of women, and I'm going to talk about women this time, A lot of women don't understand that the things that you say in the name of protecting your own feelings or even somebody else's feelings, is if it's not rooted in the truth, it's just a lie. Now, let's use an example. Your lady's walking around home and she's clearly pissed at the world. You all have been in a relationship for an extended amount of time, right? You live together and you know each other's behaviors. She's walking around the house and she's on fire, just mad. You can see it in her face. And so, being a good man, you go to her and you ask her, "Hey baby, what's wrong?" And she says, "Nothing." Right there, all right? And I know that there's some folks out here who would beg to differ, but right there, she just lied. She just lied. It's very clear that there's a problem. Then she turns around and she lies. More than likely, she's afraid of the idea of you, or knowing that the man probably won't do enough to fix this problem or to help her to fix this problem. She knows that also if she plays this game long enough that maybe he'll just beg her and say things or do things to try to make her feel better or whatever. But a prime example though of this particular thing, what I'm talking about, to avoid embarrassment. Have you ever watched the Maury Show? Right? If you've ever watched the Maury Show, they loved, or at least they used to, I haven't seen it for years, but they used to love, Maury used to love having this show, the same show practically, where they were doing paternity tests. And you have a man and a woman and they come out on stage and they got this big argument, this big fight carrying on about whether or not this man is the father. And again, if you ever watched this show, right, if you watched it a few times, which I know I watched it several times, back in the day, but if you watch it several times, you start to see a basic pattern, right? So the woman's on stage and she's hollering and screaming, "You're that baby's daddy. You the one that this time and that time, and we was just together last night." Just talking all of this, right? She's hollering and screaming, and then the crowd. Here's the really interesting part about it. Another reason why I advocate for men. The crowd loves to boo. They boo the man, right? It's usually black man. You can see some other races sometimes. There's usually a black man on there. The black man come walking out. The second he come walking out, the whole crowd is just boo. Everybody hates him, right? He's a horrible guy. And so the show goes on and they cut to the commercial. They always got to cut to the commercial. And then when the commercial comes back, or when the show comes back, you hear, "You are not the father." Then the crowd goes wild. Oh, now that they see that this woman's been lying the whole time, right? This woman's been lying the whole time in order to avoid embarrassment. She don't want the world to know that she's been out here sleeping around. She don't want folks to know that she's a hoe. She don't want people to know it. So she tells these lies, right? And I can only imagine what that would have been like back before paternity tests, were just readily available. I can only imagine how many men ended up paying for kids that were not theirs, and or even raising kids that were not theirs and they didn't know it. I can only imagine. So at this point, the paternity test is readily available. So that's my suggestion to any man. It's like, look, all right, I know you love your lady and you want to trust her and believe everything that she says. I get it 100%. and you don't want to offend her by asking for a paternity test. But especially for young guys, well, really not even just especially for them. I guess this message would be more for young guys and the softer guys who are afraid of their woman. Ask for that test. Get that test. And there was another one, Rosewood. If anybody ever watched the movie Rosewood, where the lady was the lady's husband would go off to work, and another man would show up and be blowing her back out on a regular basis. And the man gets mad at the lady one day. The extra man gets mad at the lady one day and beats her. Beats her. And she runs out of her house hollering and screaming. And to avoid embarrassment, right? And this is movies. I know this is a movie. But to avoid embarrassment, what she says is, instead of telling the truth of what she's been up to, cheating on her husband, openly, freely cheating on her husband, what she says is, the black man did it, right? To exonerate herself from any accountability and, put it off on, just basically the lie, put it off on somebody else to deal with whatever those consequences were going to be. All in the name of avoiding embarrassment, and even in this case, maybe even to avoid punishment. All right. Well, anyways, that's 3. Number 4 is going to be to win the admiration of others. All right. A lot of times when you have people who are really, really fighting for the admiration and adoration of other people, they will lie. And it can range anywhere from little white lies, which let me hold up on that. Frankly, I don't believe in white lies. I think that's some what I like to call gray area bullshit. Okay? Gray area bullshit. White lies. That's what that is. No. But I'm gonna use that term since that's something that most folks can kind of relate to. But it can range from little white lies to actually going as far as to fabricate an entire persona. All right. This is literally an entire, usually digital, remake or makeover of an individual. One of the biggest examples that you can find of this, go to Instagram, right? Go to Instagram or go to Facebook. Any one of these social media sites where people are posting pictures and videos of themselves, doing wonderful things, right? And I know this to be a fact because I know some folks. That I'm friends with, be it on Facebook or Instagram, wherever. And I know their situation. I know it 100%. But they'll come to you or come to me, and they'll have horror stories. I mean, day after day, horror stories of what their real situation is, right? And then they'll go online and they'll post pictures and videos that say something totally different. You'll see a whole other person, a whole other lifestyle. This person who can barely afford, like this person, I'm gonna give one example. This lady, she makes roughly $12 an hour and she has no man. All right, $12 an hour and no man. And she bounces, if you look at her pictures, right? If you look at her pictures, it would look like she's gone to various different states, various different countries. Like she's just out here living, doing the hot girl summer. Like she's rich. Like she got it like that. You'll see pictures of her holding a Coach bag. I'm like, I bet you the Coach store is tired of her coming in there taking pictures. That's my initial thought, because I know good and well that she can't afford that bag. She can't afford that bag. Okay, she could barely afford the other little stuff that she likes to do, which is get her nails done and her hair done, and smoke the weed and have her drinks on a regular basis. She could barely afford that. All right, but you see her with all of this, all of these expensive possessions and doing all of this extra traveling. And anybody who has ever made $12 an hour knows that ain't real. That ain't possible. And especially if it's one income, you don't have no man, right? Unless you got, unless she's doing something that I'm completely unaware of, that scenario ain't possible. Okay. Then another thing that I've learned that women tend to do for the admiration of others is they sit in that mirror. They sit in that mirror. Okay. And they'll wear fake hair. Sometimes they literally look like hair hats. You can look at their head and tell that there's like a whole full head of hair underneath there, but you just didn't feel like doing nothing today. They put on that hair hat, they put on them damn nails and that makeup, and then they come out and want to call themselves the queen and the boss. I'm the queen. I'm a queen, or I'm a boss. It's like, well, what you queening over? Well, where's your kingdom? Could you take me there? Can I see it? What are you the boss of? Because as far as I know, in order to be a boss, you got to be employing something. You got to employ some people. And you'll hear people saying these things, and they come out, and I see it. I see it often, actually. There's one lady, and I'm not going to say where I know her from because it'd be a dead giveaway. But there's one lady that I see, and she drives a Mercedes, right? She drives a Mercedes, and you might see her every now and then with nails this long, and she don't really do that much with her hair. She don't wear the fake hair, but the nails, and she drives this Mercedes. Well, anyways, so you go and talk to her, and on one hand, if she's sober, on one hand she'll tell you, oh yeah, well, my husband does this and he does that, and she'll boast about the husband. And then she'll boast about how he gave her that car, and she's carrying on, right? And it's a believable story. But then you let her get a drink or two in her, just a drink or two, and the whole story changes. All of a sudden, you find out that she's been divorced for the last 3 years. She's been divorced for the last 3 years. And that car is a car that her husband gave her. And at least the ex-husband gave her. And the ex-husband actually chose to leave that car, almost as a, hey, take this and you can have whatever, I'm out. That type of thing. And the only way that the truth, the real deal comes out is when the inhibitions are gone, when the drinking has happened. So she'll tell people all of this stuff because she knows like most of us know. I mean, in the black community, on average, I want to say the number is roughly about 1 out of 4. So roughly about 75% of women will never be married. That's roughly 75% of black women will never be married. And you can check the statistics on that for yourself. Roughly 75% of black women will never be married. Okay. And so with that being said, of course, it's considered an honorable position to be a wife in many cases, especially a wife who's got a good man who does all of the things that this woman used to lie about. Okay. But just looking to be admired. And another thing that people tend to lie about, here's another one. Okay. Another thing that people tend to lie about is, or another reason that they lie for, let's say that, is to win the sympathy of others. All right. Now I just went through a situation, and brother, I'm sorry, because I'm most definitely gonna talk about you. I'm not gonna say no names, but I'm definitely gonna talk about you. So I just went through a situation where I was helping a guy out, trying to help him to get his life back on track. And he had a whole list of issues. All right. 20 years worth of debt. He had a poor living situation, in which he was living with his mom. He claimed that his mom was mistreating his kids. I mean, it sounded like a horrible situation. So without putting too much of the business out there, I said, okay, call him up. And, I said, listen, I believe that iron sharpens iron. And, as black men, we got to try to be, a bit somewhat responsible for each other. We at least got to try to help each other out. And that's just my belief. I always bet black. I always bet black. I try my best to help out my brothers and my sisters. Okay. So, he comes over here and he's got this long drawn out story, and I listened to it. I said, okay, we're gonna work on all of this stuff. So we worked on the credit issue, worked on the living issue. He actually moved into here. Excuse me. Got him off of his mom's living room floor. Also made it to where his kids would be welcome. They were welcome. So he was able to move in. He had his own room, his own space, had free range of the house. His kids, when they came, had fairly free range of the house. Of course, there's a couple of rooms that they couldn't go into, but aside from those two spaces, they could do what they wanted. And he had a much better job. He was given a much better job, a job that was paying, I think it would be $6 an hour more than what he was making before. And let me see what else was done. Well, anyways, bottom line is that his entire situation was turned around. Okay. The whole situation was turned around, but it came with, there was a deal attached to it. It's like, look, you can be here, and you can have all of these pluses. Oh, that was the other thing that I was thinking about. Also, tried to turn him into a business owner. Tried to make him a partner in a new and upcoming business. So, but it came with a deal attached. It's like, look, you can enjoy all of these benefits, these ones that you didn't have before. All you have to do is every day do something to improve yourself, right? Every day you got to be doing something to improve yourself. So that means whether you're eating healthier, or you're getting out and you're exercising, or you're doing things, you're sacrificing your personal time in the name of doing something that's going to help this new business, that you've pretty much been made partner in, something. Sacrifice all of the old nonsense, all of the stuff that got you in trouble, and replace it with things that are going to improve your life. That was the deal. Okay. That plus $500 a month, which is nothing. I don't know any adult with their own place who can pay $500 a month and actually make it, unless you're on Section 8 or something like that. But $500 a month and a clean kitchen every night. That was it. Personal improvement, $500 a month, clean kitchen every night. Okay? So what I had to learn at the end of it, because the situation lasted roughly 6 months. So what I had to learn at the end of it was this. Some people just lie for the sake of gaining the sympathy of others. All right? Just for that, just to gain the sympathy of others. All right? It's the manipulation tactic. Any manipulator that you're ever going to meet, that's one of the main tactics that they use. Right? They want to gain your sympathy, so you can feel sorry for them, and they'll feel more open. You'll feel more open and even vulnerable to that individual, and then that person goes to work on you. And yeah, even at my age and my intelligence, I kind of fell victim to it a little bit, but only for 6 months. All right, and as the time went on, I was able to see that this person is expert at playing the victim. Expert at playing the victim. I should have thought hard and said, you know what? I know your mom. I know your mom. And I refuse to believe that your mom is mistreating her grandkids. I refuse to believe that. And I should have thought hard about it and said, you know, well, if all she wants to do is mistreat them, I mean, why is she letting them come to her house at all? She doesn't have space for you in that house, so then she's gonna let your kids come. It's like, what? No, that to me, you know, after really thinking about it, that doesn't make sense. I guess I was so eager to help somebody that I just kind of overlooked, you know, logic in this particular case. It's rare for me, but it happened. Expert at playing the victim, and then also a Class A complainer. Class A complainer, I mean world-class complainer. So you were living at your mom's house. You were sleeping on her living room floor. You claim that your kids were being mistreated, right? You had a lower paying job, a much lower paying job. And you were not on the track to becoming a business owner at all. You still had horrible credit and a lot of unpaid bills, okay? Going all the way back to even old college bills. You came over here, all right? And within little to no time, all of those, almost like with the snap of a finger, damn near all of those problems were solved. And now you're in a situation that's, I mean, it's a total 180. It's 100% better than the situation that you were in. But somehow you still manage to complain. Somehow you still find a problem to complain about on a daily basis. It's like you got peace of mind now. You're making more money. Your kids are welcome. You ain't sleeping on the floor. What you need? What do you need? Come storming in the house like, oh, yeah, don't talk to me. I'm not in the mood. Like, how in the hell are you not in the mood for something? You winning. I mean, touchdown from all angles. You winning. And you got the nerve to be complaining about stuff? And what I had to learn is, bottom line is, the man was full of shit. That's what it boiled down to, is he full of shit. He wanted everybody to believe, right? He even told lies on me. Told lies on me to my own folks, thinking they wasn't gonna say nothing. I knew what he was up to, but he even told lies on me, make it sound like, you know, I'm just this horrible guy, even though I changed his whole life around for the better, right? And anybody on the outside, anybody that he was complaining to, they were able to see this. They knew what had happened as far as where he came from versus where he was. They knew. And they know me. So a lot of the complaining and nonsense that he was trying to put out there, they knew better than to believe that shit. Right? So That's another one, is to win the sympathy of others. And I just gave you a hell of an example on that. And then here's the last one, and I'm going to move on. All right. So you have a lot of people, excuse me. You have a lot of people out there who will lie to obtain a reward that may otherwise not be obtainable. Okay? At least not readily obtainable. You might see some of this when it comes to somebody doing, say, a job interview, right? So, a person comes in and, you know, they show up bright and early for a job interview, say 9 o'clock in the morning, they show up for a job interview. And as an employer, I know fully well, like, I know this person wants this job. First thing I'm gonna go out here and look at is their appearance, right? I want to see, because you got some folks out here that are nutty. They walk in and they show up in the fuzzy slippers and you know, the holy pajama pants or the yoga pants, and they're applying for a professional administrative position. And they know this. Hair ain't combed, you know, pants sagging down past their butt. But we ain't talking about them. So these folks show up. They show up bright and early. They come in. Some of them, they look smart. They look good. All right. The time for the interview comes. And you walk them back. I walk them back to my office, and we sit down and we talk. And you start asking about their work history. And one of the things that they say, you at least I find it to be rather unbelievable. So if you've been working jobs like, oh yeah, well, I've been working as a shoe salesman. I had a job as a shoe salesman for 2 years, and then I did this for 2 years and that for 2 years. You're listening to them, it's like none of this sounds even remotely close to office work or administrative work. None of it sounds like administrative work. And so we got smart. What we started doing is we purchased a particular test, you know, that will allow you to see if a person is you know, very savvy at all with computers, if they have good communication skills, if they have a good customer service skills. I mean, just a series of tests, you know, rather impactful tests, meaningful tests, you know, because we were getting some boo-boos there for a while, and it's like, if you don't know how to spot the lies, you know, you end up hiring the wrong person. Well, anyways, we had to start testing to be able to get through the bullshit. All right. And what we learned was that unfortunately, it seems like anybody who doesn't have a college degree, and this is speaking in generalities, but it seems like the people who didn't have the college degree, they were not very savvy with the computer. They didn't know what to do. But they would say things like, oh yeah, I've used Excel. I've used Microsoft Excel before. You know, I'd have to brush up on it a little bit, but yeah, I had to do that. You know, in that couple of years, I didn't graduate from college, but in that couple of years that I was in college, I had some courses on it. Oh, okay. Can you type well? Oh, well, I mean, kind of well, you know, probably about, you know, last time I saw was about 35 words a minute. It's like, okay, that's, you know, all right. To make them feel better, I say, well, hell, that's faster than I can type. Can you type without looking at the keyboard? No, not really. Can't really type without looking at the keyboard. It's like, okay. But I thought you said that for that couple of years in school, you know, you had to kind of get know your way around the computer. Now, it is very possible, don't get me wrong, it is very possible for somebody to know how to use various different computer programs, especially geared around office type work. It's very possible for people to know how to use these different programs and even be pretty savvy with the computer and not know how to type. I'm guilty. Yeah, I do not know how to type, and in fact, I barely know how to get past using just 2 or 3 fingers on each hand. Typing is not something that I learned how to do, but I'm pretty damn savvy with a computer. All right, so I'm here for it. I have no issue with telling the truth on myself, and there's a little bit of it. Nonetheless, then you see other examples of lying to obtain a reward that may not otherwise be readily obtainable. You see some of that in the dating world as well. So you see it a lot of times with men trying to get the hot girl, right? Men trying to get the hot girl. And so what they'll do, what some guys will do, is they may go so far as to borrow a friend's car to go to in order to be able to pick the lady up for the date. They may do something like go out and buy some kind of an expensive gift, because this is the hot girl. This ain't the average girl. This is the hot girl. Okay, kind of upper level girl, and he wants to impress her, so he may go buy some expensive gift or take her to some expensive restaurant, knowing that $250 meal that you're about to pay for, that's going to cause you to come up short on something, right? That's outside of your budget, but he'll do it. He'll do it anyways in the name of impressing this girl. He'll talk about his job as the date goes on. It's like, yeah, I do this type of work, some fancy sounding position. You know how it is. Folks get out here and they're doing this dating thing and they just lie. Okay? But that's because what they're trying to get, they believe that it's really not obtainable for them. Okay? That's generally speaking, that's why they're going to do all of this extra stuff to try to put on a front and make it seem like I am just loaded with resources. I'm loaded with money. I got the nice car. I can afford to take you to the nice restaurant, right? Because these are things that, let's face it, these are things that matter to most women. Not all women, but these are things that matter to most women. Okay? 6 feet tall, six figure salary, and well, especially those two, in my opinion. 6 feet tall, six figure salary, a sense of stability, a sense of security. They absolutely love. Most women, I would say 90% of women, all want this particular guy that I just described. And so guys will go so far as to make themselves come across, as another person for the sake of getting the hot girl. And women are not exonerated from this. Women are guilty of this as well. Okay? Same situation, a dating type situation. They're gonna do what they can, right? Which not all of it is a lie. Okay, some of it is just a woman, people doing what they gotta do to impress the person that they're interested in. But where it goes south is, again, with the lies. People start, the lady is sitting there across from the man and she says, oh yeah, I'm a strong, independent woman. I like to clean, I like to cook. But then you get back to her place, and even though it sounded really, really good sitting there at the table with her. But you get back to her place and you see, first of all, the place is a filthy mess. And then you notice that when you go to get the water, out of the refrigerator, that it's dry. There's nothing in there. There's no food in there. It's like, what you cooking? What you cooking? If you like to clean, you like to cook, you got a messy house, you ain't got no food in the refrigerator. what is this? And then even when it comes to that whole strong independent thing, which that's a whole other story within itself. But the independence, in some cases, yeah, cool, strong, independent, right? Or at least independent. That's cool. But one of the things that I learned about, which is really going to come into another video, is how they like to, build a brother. Build a brother. Yeah, I said it. So you got one guy who is there because he's got the finances. And then another guy's there because he can blow the back out. And then another guy who's there who is class A softy, and he's friend zoned permanently. You can call him up anytime you want and talk to him about all of your woes. You can pour all of your emotional shit out on him, right? Build a brother, the Build a Brother program. And like I said, I can't put this on I can't put this on all of the women out there, but I grew up, I grew up having some female friends, and I've heard directly from them exactly how they tend to function sometimes, right? And the claim is that the men out here ain't no good. That's the claim, which I would beg to differ in most cases, okay? But they claim that the men out here ain't no good. And so in order to make the situation work for them, the Build a Brother program. I'm gonna get this one for that, and this one, and this one, and this one. And after I got my squad, I'm good. And then I'm gonna go out here and go on dates and tell all the men that I don't have no man, even though you got 4 or 5 of them. But I'm gonna squash that one, because this ain't even supposed to be about that. This is really supposed to be about the benefits of lying. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. I've kind of talked quite a bit, nearly an hour about lying, and I wanted to touch on honesty real quick before I get out of here. So there's a philosopher named Krishnamurti, and one of his famous quotes is, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Okay? Now, that quote has a very, very deep meaning. Okay? That one in which I really don't have the time to get that far into, but I do want to touch on it just a little bit. I gotta at least scratch the surface on this thing. So it makes no sense to me how the truth tends to be more controversial than lies. Okay? This is why, on average, people who believe in holding themselves accountable, that is leaders, especially the leaders in the world, and the ones that somebody would call a snitch or the honest John or something like that. This is why those people are somewhat hated, because lies are easier in a sick society anyways. Lies are easier to deal with. Okay? Lies are much easier to hear. They're much easier to deal with. In fact, they're much more acceptable, which is so backwards that it lets you know that we do live in a truly sick society, and the majority of us don't even know it. The burden of honesty is yours to bear. I want to say that one again, just up close. The burden of honesty is yours to bear. There's no way that I should be making that particular statement. Honesty should mean something. But in the society that we live in, no, What it means now is that you're going to be rejected. If you're an honest person, somebody who can look at the people that you love, and you can look them right in their eyes and you can tell them the truth, that truth is going to be rejected. You, as an individual, will be rejected, even by the ones that you love. People hate honesty. Now, again, I'm using the word people. Of course, this is not everybody, but if I'm speaking in generalities, the mass of people, the majority of people hate and reject honesty. I want you to think about that. Think about the last time that you went to somebody that you love and you told them something very basic. Something simple, even as simple as, hey, you look like you gained some weight. Just something basic, something simple. And watch how pissed off at you they get. Or here's a good one. Here's a really good one. If you've ever had a situation where maybe you got two ladies that are friends. You got two ladies that are friends, and one of those ladies has a man, right? And the man ain't satisfied with his lady. So he goes to her friend and starts making passes at her. And this is a factual thing. This is something that actually took place, within these people or between these people. And the lady who just got hit on, the one that doesn't have a man, she goes and tells her friend, hey, normally under normal circumstances, I would not say nothing because I don't believe in wrecking nobody's home. Okay. But your man just hit on me and he's trying to get in. He's trying to get my attention right now. Guess who loses in that situation? It ain't the man. It ain't the man. The man is going to win in that situation because guess what? Honesty is taboo. She'd have been better off keeping her mouth shut. If she had any interest in keeping her friend, right? She'd have been better off keeping her mouth shut and saying nothing. Because the truth is rejected. People hate the truth, right? And that's just one example or a couple of examples. Anyways, people will call you arrogant. If you're that person, you're a leader, somebody who almost has to look people in the face, make the tough decisions, be honest and straight with folks. If you're in that position, I feel bad for you, And just as I know some people, there's some folks who tell me the same thing. It's like, man, I feel bad for you because I don't know how you deal with these various different types of situations. I won't roll too far into it. But they'll call you arrogant, okay? And they'll accuse you of condescending, okay? Just the fact that you are in a position of power, position of that requires accountability, a position of honor and respect, just that alone, in many cases, is enough to cause people to hate you. So automatically, now that you're in that position, you got a small group of people who actually like the leader, they love the leaders, and then the masses absolutely hate them. Right? So you got that small group of folks, they'll appreciate you, they'll love you for it. But when it comes to the masses, no, they're going to look at you and they'll say, it doesn't matter what it is you say, because their perception of you is so dark that it doesn't really matter what you say or what you do. They're going to say things like you're arrogant and you condescend, right? And then another thing that they'll do, they'll accuse you of thinking that you're better than, right? They'll accuse you of thinking that you're better than, regardless of how down to earth you actually are. That won't matter. They'll accuse you of thinking that you're better than. because you know how to behave in a way that says, I'm in charge. My image matters. Right? God forbid you say something like that to somebody. Image matters. Because they're going to look at you as if you're crazy. Because they have no foresight, right? They don't think about what the future, either more than likely will bring or what it could bring. They don't think about that, and they don't care about it. All they care about is what's going on right now, and is it in my favor? That's it. Right? So they'll also, and again, right now, we're talking about the problem with honesty, right? The problems with honesty. Earlier, when we first got going, it was the benefits of lying, really twisted. And then now we're talking about the problems with honesty, again, very twisted up. The next live stream that I do, I kind of want to flip this and talk about the benefits of honesty versus the problems with lying. All right. So along with all of that rejection and all of the nastiness that you get from being an honest person, right? They accuse you of being of thinking that you're better than them. Well, here's my own personal belief, and you can quote me on this one. A man who chooses to be honest is better than somebody who's choosing to lie. Period. And anybody out there can take that statement and make whatever they want to of it. If you are a habitual liar, if you are a pathological liar, hey, at least in my book, and I know my opinion only stretches about as far as I can see it, but at least in my opinion, you ain't shit. You're somebody who actually would rather take your lies to the grave, right? You'll take your lies to the grave, and on the way there, you'll destroy any and everybody in your path in order to maintain that lie. And I want you to think about how sick that is as well. I mean, you got some folks out here, they'll take shots at your job. They'll take shots at your business. They'll take shots at your relationship. They'll even try, your personal relationships. It could be a relationship between you and one of your kids, all for the sake of lying, just for lying, right? Whether it's trying to get somebody's sympathy, any one of those excuses or reasons that I gave you before for why people lie, they'll destroy you. And then they'll take those lies to the grave. When you meet these people, the best advice I can give you on them, avoid them. I mean 100%. Just avoid them. Because in many cases, especially for the pathological liars, like they can't even help it. It's almost like they don't know no better, right? And for the habitual liar, one who's not a pathological liar, for the habitual liar, I mean, shit, it's hard to tell the difference. Can they help it or not? But at the end of the day, you don't want your life to be damaged by a liar, somebody who constantly lies on you, about you, to you. Just take it from me. Get away from them. Get away from them. Stay away from them. Avoid them at all costs. One of the biggest issues, in my opinion, when it comes to honesty, this is one of the biggest problems with honesty, is people will hate you for mirroring to them who they are, right? So, first of all, people hate the idea of, many people anyways, hate the idea of anybody coming to them and telling them about themselves, even if they've asked you to do it. Because what happens is, when they ask you for that information, They're expecting you to be a big liar like everybody else around them. Okay? That's what they're expecting. Oh, tell me what you think of me, and just hoping that, it sounds good. But when you start telling the truth, when you start actually critiquing, it becomes a big issue now, right? Well, I don't like this part, or you do this and that's not a good look. You do that and that's not a good look. When you really start not necessarily digging into a person, but when you really start mirroring to them who they are and what they're all about, they hate it. Again, it doesn't matter if they asked you for it or not. Now, especially in cases in which they didn't ask for it, and it's time for you to give somebody a piece of your mind, a good, honest piece of your mind, and let them know exactly what it is you see, not based on your feelings either, but based on exactly what is, right? Based on exactly what is. They absolutely hate what they see in themselves, and they hate you even more for being the person to bring it out to them. So keep that in mind. All right. Keep that in mind. In most cases, it's really better for you to, and this really feeds into, that quote from Krishnamurti, which is, it's no measure of health. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. This very thing that I'm telling you, you're better off just saying nothing. Now, you should be able just to say whatever the truth is, without consequence in most cases. In most cases. Now, if you've committed some kind of a horrible crime and then you go and be honest about that, you got something coming. Okay, that's totally different. That ain't what I'm talking about right now. But when it comes to normal situations where no crime has been committed, no person has been hurt, yeah, you should feel comfortable with actually going to your friend, your lover, your co-worker, whoever it is, and just being honest about things. But it's practically impossible, because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You go and tell the truth and you're going to get rejected. You're going to get dumped on for it. Okay. Now, the funny thing, or the really, really weird thing about the society that we live in today, I'm going to say this and then I'm done. We live in a time right now in which it is practically illegal to say something as simple as this, right? Here recently, Dave Chappelle did a show. It was called The Closer. And I'm not going to go too far into the details about what, on what his show was all about. But he ran a few jokes and about the LGBTQ community. All right. And again, he's a comedian, and he did what comedians do. He got on stage, and in a very brilliant fashion, like Dave Chappelle tends to do, he brings it. He brought the drama. Well, he makes this joke about the LGBTQ community, and part of the joke was he talked about the baby and how the baby actually killed somebody inside of a Walmart, and nothing happened to his career. Now, for what it's worth, I'm pretty sure the baby will never see this video, but for what it's worth, the real truth is that person that he killed inside the Walmart, he did it in self-defense. That's the real truth. Okay. But of course, Dave Chappelle didn't say all of that because he's making a joke. So the baby kills somebody inside of a Walmart, nothing happens to his career. But then the joke goes on, and he mentions, so the baby can kill somebody inside of a Walmart, and nothing happens to his career. But the second the baby chose to say something about the LGBTQ community, now all of a sudden he's canceled. I want you to think about how bad that is, right? First of all, this country was founded on a constitution, right? A particular list of rules that say what our human rights are supposed to be in this country, right? Or what they are, not even what they're supposed to be, but what they are in this country. And the society has gotten so sick that today, freedom of speech is on its way out the window. Freedom of speech is on its way out the window. Now, the baby's concerts have been canceled, to my knowledge. Like, this man is going to miss out on probably millions of dollars, or at least hundreds of thousands, but I would guess millions of dollars, because he chose to say something about the wrong community, about the LGBTQ community, right? And simply put, nowadays, you can't even say something as simple as a person who's born with a penis is a male. To make that particular statement is practically against the law. Is practically against the law. Okay? Because not only do you get the LGBTQ community coming down on you, but then, to my understanding, based on this one joke, or not this one joke, but this one show that Dave Chappelle has done, now he's even got some, I can't remember the name of the group, but it sounded like it was a black group to me, trying to take him down. They want Netflix to cancel the show. Take it off. Can't say nothing these days, right? Not even the truth. Especially not the truth. Why? Because it hurts people's feelings. I mean, I could see if, the man said something like, they come into this country and they're all murderers. I could see if he said something like that, then maybe something should be done, because now you're telling lies on folks, right? But he didn't say that. You know who did? Donald Trump. Donald Trump said something along the lines of, oh yeah, they come into this country and they send their worst. They send their murderers and their rapists. But you think something happened to him for that? No, he still got to sit there as the president. But that's a whole other show. All right. Lies versus the truth, folks. Lies versus the truth. So, listen. I came tonight, and I appreciate you all for coming. I wanted to discuss basically some differences between lies and truth. I wanted to tell you the benefits, some of the benefits of lying, versus some of the problems with honesty. I know it's a bit twisted up, but I promise you, if I can come back with the same subject flipped on its head in the next live stream, you'll understand exactly where it is I'm coming from. To anybody who may have watched me tonight, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Like the video, like and subscribe. That would be great. And thanks a lot. All right. This is the A16 Fix signing out.